concept of Parliament being the highest court is an anachronism. It really is just empty rhetoric. The House of Lords in the UK used to have a judicial function, but it hasn't had that for a very long time. Jamaica's Parliament has never had a judicial function, nor does it operate as a court. While our Parliament governs its own procedures in accordance with the Constitution and the standing orders, and of course its internal workings are not subject to the jurisdiction of the courts of law, our Parliament is in no meaningful sense a court, much less the highest court. So we keep getting drawn into this sort of legalistic argument, as if to suggest that unless we can meet some standard of evidence that would meet the criminal standard in court, we cannot act. That is not true. In every organization, persons are held accountable for their actions, whether or not it meets the bar of a criminal charge. I think the murder of Kenneth Jackson and at the time the disappearance of Natalie Dawkins was topical. Members were making suggestions to remove judicial discretion, remove the right to plea bargain for these offenses. Not long after that was when this video started circulating. The video showed a vicious, brutal, repeated beating of a woman by a man. She didn't die, but only by the grace of God, because any single one of those blows with a stool could have been fatal. Are we sending the message that only when the woman dies, when the victim dies, is when our outrage rises to a level to act? No, we cannot convict the member in this house of a criminal offense. That's not our job. We are not a court, but we can act. Let me ask, which one of us in this Parliament, if wrongfully identified as that perpetrator, would not immediately deny that it was us? We know, every one of us here knows what the truth is. If you're talking about unity, let us unite around that, because he's an embarrassment to every one of us, whichever side he come from. And we must show the courage to act. What the opposition senators have said is that this does not represent them because it does not go far enough. We don't disagree with what is in the statement, but reading it, listening to it, in a sense, is analogous to eating a tasteless bowl of porridge. It may have some nutrition in it. It may be good for you to an extent, but it's not spicy. It's not tasty. It's not going to be memorable. It's not going to stay with those who are hearing it. They're not going to be moved by the passion and the conviction of the persons who wrote this statement. Peter Tosh said, I don't want peace. I want justice. Unity is not the most important thing here. It is justice. It is accountability. That victim, the best thing we can do for her and for all the victims that we can do here in this capacity is to hold a member of Parliament accountable. When the Black Lives Matter movement was getting militant and getting support across the world, you know, they come back, well, it's not just black lives, it's all lives matter. Saying all lives matter was a deflection, a watering down, diverting attention. So what we're here to deal with today is not the societal violence, it's not man-on-man violence. We're here to deal with the violence against women, a most egregious example of which we saw on that tape and was committed by a member of this Parliament. It is always the right time to do the right thing. But in this specific case, right is wrong.